Hello, everybody. I hope you're all doing fantastically well. It's Conor McGilligan, One Leeds HQ. We're back with your panel show for this week. It is The Debrief, joined by two of my favourite people on the Leeds United network. And of course, in life, Joe Wainman and Oscar Marriott, the All Leeds TV reunion, part 74. We're going to be getting into the weekend's action, where Leeds United are placed now in the table, what's going to be going on going forward, where do we need to improve, where are we fantastic at this moment in time. Make sure you're getting your comments in the section below, everybody. I want your likes. I want your interaction, your engagement. As always, we're sponsored by IPM Group UK, as you always know. Football Prizes as well, sponsoring the channel. And we've got another one coming very, very soon. But without any further ado, my favourite two, Wainman and Oscar Marriott in the building. Shall I rearrange this? Yeah, that's fine. It's fine. It's fine how it is. All right. Well, the man with the plan, the man with the best hats in the game. We need to get some merchandise sorted with you, Oscar, and these hats, mate. If you want to get in my DMs,
it's cash money, mate. It's cash money at this point.
All proceeds go towards your hat collection. How you doing, mate? All good?
I'm all good, mate. I'm all good. It is totally my fault. We're starting late, by the way. I'm not having Joe have to get the blame for this one. It is totally my fault. I do apologise, guys. And it is
Joe Waitman.
It is a pleasure to be joined by Joe Wayman. Anyway,
yeah,
Joe Wayman.
It's good to be on. I only get the call up once every couple of weeks, don't I? So yeah.
All he's allowed. He's on. I just keep him on his toes. I'm like Farker and Solomon. 2 point. Dilip's in the building. Evening, Connor. Evening, all. Hi, Connor. Hope you're feeling better. I'm not, mate. I've been whinging to Joe for the past 5 minutes. As I say, it's everybody. Slap a like on the video. Roland said Joe's looking trim. Oscar is looking disheved.
Dishevelled, maybe dishevelled.
Yeah, I thought dishevelled.
Charming that.
Disheveled. If it is disheveled, it's pretty rough. Right, lads. Leeds United. Good weekend. Me and Joe were speaking about it earlier on. Oscar, I want your 2 cents on it, mate. Pretty easy going against Derby. The last couple of times we've come up against them, I hate them, mate. I hate them. I genuinely, after everything we went through, Pride Park, going back to Ellen Road, they do live rent-free in my head. The old insult, so-and-so lives rent-free in your head. Derby live rent-free in my head after all of that. Never cared about Derby before. And I don't know, I thought it was going to be rough and tumble. I thought it was going to be, a bit arduous, a bit of a fire and fury game. And it wasn't, mate. We just battered them out the way like a candy wrapper in an air draft. It was pretty easy, mate.
Yeah, it was the kind of game I was expecting, to be honest. I was so ready to make my point. I was thinking, what was
that analogy? Was like a candy wrapper?
Have you not heard the Simpsons one? What is it? Help me out in the chat. There's a Simpsons reference, like a candy wrapper and an air draft. I'm sure Homer says it. Air draft, whatever it is. Let me go. Someone else take over.
It was nice and comfortable, but to be honest, lads, it was the kind of game I was expecting. I think as long as we score the first goal in those kind of games, it kind of opens up nicely for us. I thought maybe in the second half we were going to get more goals. We did have the moments, chances. Probably should have took some of them, but we were comfortably on top. I think Derby had their first shot on target on 80 minutes, I think it was, or 81, something like that. Another dominant defensive performance, and obviously 2 very unlikely goal scorers as well. So it's nice. I think naturally this season, I think we are going to share out the goals. Obviously, it's not going to be Joe Roden and Max Verber every week, but nice for them to get goals as well. And I think all rounds, really good performance. I thought the midfield too. I say it pretty much every week, but I thought Rothwell and Tanaka, Rothwell especially, actually, I thought had an outstanding game. His delivery from set pieces was brilliant. And I think every single pass had purpose to it. And it was a good performance from us. And ultimately, though, what I will say is we've not solved, from this game, I'm not convinced we've solved the weakness away from home, just from this game. I think we still need to have a good week this week against Middlesbrough and Preston. They are going to be the bigger test for us. I just don't think Derby, Plymouth, QPR, when we play those kind of teams at home, are going to cause us any problems this season. It might sound a bit arrogant, but I really don't feel it. I think we feel comfortable in those games, as comfortable as we did under Bielsa in those games, and we just set up perfectly for him. But it's good to see certain players back as well. Hopefully, Ethan Ampadu will be able to be involved this week, and so it's positive, mate. It's positive. results went for us as well. And I still believe Sheffield United, Burnley, if we can get us act together in these games like Blackburn and Millwall away, we can build a gap on them. I really do believe that. I really believe they're fully catchable and we are better than them. I genuinely do still believe that.
Feels like it's narrowing down to me, Joe. I think Sunderland got the win, didn't they? Watson. Tell you what, they produce some players up there, don't they? Another young man winning them the game at the weekend against Stoke City, the young 18-year-old who looked very, very good against Sheffield United. But I don't know what it is. Don't know what it is with Sunderland. I think obviously it's the dip off when they've obviously been struggling a little bit in terms of the depth and the quality and depth. Obviously with Joe been out for that period of time, Alan Brown been out, and obviously Mundell. You've kind of, I think they've maybe struggled a little bit. And then you see Leeds who've had players out and we've been able to cope with the demand a little bit more. See it the same with Sheffield United with Suter and Anel out as well. They've been able to cope with the load as well. Seen it with Burnley, obviously, in the previous couple of weeks as well. It feels like right now, and I know Sunderland are on 36 points and, you know, we're not 35 or 36 points and they're not far behind us. But it just does feel like that pack is going to break away a little bit and it's going to be us three.
Yeah, I think so. I don't disagree. I don't think Sunderland will have the staying power. Said that a bit ago. Middlesbrough will probably be too inconsistent over the course of a 46-game season. Great going forward, not so good at the back. Burnley will they'll go through periods of winning games, then they'll come unstuck, I think, just because they don't create enough. And they won't create enough under Scott Parker. Burnley's the one team in the playoffs that you don't want to face. If you want my prediction, I think the top two stays as it is, hopefully with us top of the tree, and Burnley to win the playoffs just because of their quality and the way that they can prevent goal scoring chances. I think, 7 goals they've conceded maybe now in nearly 20 games. It's insane, really, but they just don't create enough. And you know, people think we're boring. Try sit through a Burnley game, and then you'll see what boring is. So, yeah, I think
can you get promoted like that though, Joe? Just nicking the odd goal and keeping them out essentially.
Well, he's done it before, mate. He's done it before with Fulham and Bournemouth.
I had a look as well, Joe. I think they've got the best defensive record in Europe right now, ahead of Atletico Madrid.
Well, there you go. That's crazy, isn't it? But
Scott Simeone, are we saying?
What's the future though? This is the thing in it, I guess, because he's never done well at once he's out of the Championship. He seems to be able to get teams out, but you know, he even had a shot over in Belgium and bombed over there, didn't he? So don't concern me. I do think it'll be us three. But I agree with Oscar. I think this month is massive. It's arguably Leeds' easiest month of the season. And when you actually look at the teams that Burnley and Sheffield United have got to play in this month, it's so far in our favour that if we actually put some back-to-back wins home and away, we could have a gap. And then it's a case of, well, catch us if you can. Because, you know, we've lost, 3 up to this point?
Yeah.
Normally, if you win the league, I think it's between 7 and 8. Leicester lost 11 last season. So I don't see us losing many games from here on. You know, once we get to the top, unless we have an absolute drop the ball like we did back end of last season, but you would hope with him using his squad more, a little bit more experience within the ranks as well, that we should be all right. I'm actually, I'm quite chill about it, but obviously that'll change tomorrow if Borough do us. But I think we'll be all right. You know, I do. I think a lot of us are really worried about that Carabao Cup game and thinking, oh God, but there's a context to that. I know I didn't let you have context earlier on, mate, but I'll let you have it for this one.
Is that because you're over here?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's not my channel, is it? I can't call the shot.
Rolling Wolf says, I can see his top 3, us, Burnley, Sheffield United, being somewhat of your. See, I don't want that, Rolling. I know what you mean. I do not want that. And look, it's good as been in the conversation, Oscar. I don't want that, though. And I think me and Joe have spoken about that. I don't want this to be, look, if that's essentially how it is, you're kind of looking at it and thinking there's going to be a battle for second at some point.
No, you don't. We don't suit that. Let's be honest. We don't suit like
Yeah,
tight
we've
races.
we've seen this movie before.
I mean, 2019, 2020, when we kind of pulled away from West Brom and Brentford and Fulham that year, Scott Parker's Fulham that year. That's kind of what I want us to be aiming towards, where we just get stronger as the season goes on. At some point, we put together kind of like a 10 wins in 12, which I think this season, if we can put something like that together at any point this season, I think that will pretty much have us with one foot in the Premier League. I really do believe that. If we can, at some point this season, we can put a run like that. I mean, it's easier said than done. The nature of the league, it's tough. And I agree with Joe. On paper, this is probably our easiest month if we get through this game. You kind of look at it in the context of Oxford,
Derby again. We've got Derby, yeah.
It's like you're thinking about it. Yes, I know obviously Derby away is going to be tougher. Going to the Britannia is never easy. It's a horrible place to go when you need a result. But it's on paper, it's ones that we should be able to win, probably 2 of them, and maybe draw the other one or something like that, or try and win all 3 if we can. But I do actually think we can become a top 4. I think the most likely team, the only team actually I think can see getting into that top 4 is Borough. Again, I just see Borough to me remind me a little bit of Brentford in that promotion season, in terms of they are kind of like, they're not as good as Leeds. They're not probably as good as Sheffield United, but they're kind of slowly building. I think the nature of the football they play, they're going to score a lot of goals. I think Ben Doak alone is a little bit like their Ben Rama, if you like, kind of thing. He is just a wonderful, wonderful footballer. There's no other way around it. I'd love to say he's not that good, but he is a top talent.
It's the first time I'd properly watched him for a full 90 against Burnley on Friday night, and I was watching him. I was like, I mean, Liverpool actually shouldn't let him go. I know there's once again there's contacts. Mo Salah's there and stuff, but building a player like him, I mean, he looks frighteningly good.
He's amazing, and he could be the player that. Yeah, I think you look at players like him, Latty Laff, Hayden Hackney. I think I really like in their midfield as well. Finn Azaz has obviously had a good season as well. So there's a lot of good technicians in that team who will get given moments. But I do agree with Joe. If I'm looking at them thinking consistently, can they consistently match Leeds and Sheffield United? Probably not. But it wouldn't surprise me if they finish ahead of Burnley. I do think there's a potential there for him later on in the season to grow, kind of thing, a little bit. But it's hard to say. It's a top 3 or top 4, but I do agree with Joe. I think Leeds and Sheffield United would be the safe bet at this moment in time to be top 2. I think I've said that for the last couple of weeks, but I think Borough and Burnley, I think they'll have a nice gap on 5th and 6th kind of thing. I think you'll see a gap between 4th and 5th grow quite quickly kind of thing, because West Brom are still up and around there, and they just seem to draw every single week. No disrespect to them, but they just draw every single week. I think you can
call it now, Oscar, and say your top 6 is Leeds, Sheffield United, Burnley, Middlesbrough, West Brom, and Sunderland.
Yeah, I'd agree.
That's it. It's done.
I'd agree with that. Yeah, I don't think Blackburn are good enough. Norwich,
all the chasing pack, they're not. Yeah.
But yeah, I can't see it. It's
like last season. You could call it from weeks out, like months out, even. I think it's definitely looking that way again. And I think.
So you don't think there'll be a surge from Coventry?
No, definitely not.
I've heard this.
Yeah. Do you see the fist bumps?
I've heard this narrative.
I didn't, but
I've heard this narrative already. I've seen it, and look, there might be a cheeky shot for the playoffs. Look, they could be. They've got a good enough team. If they end up selling in January as well, or getting something in for Yukoresh, we know they've got a bit of a sell-on clause for him. Look, let's just get ourselves in the top 2 and just take away any. I don't want any
Coventry 6th.
Don't want any. I don't want anything like that again in the playoffs. Thank you very much. Nothing like that again. Not because I'm scared of him, but I just don't want any form of. Let's re-watching that movie again.
I mean, as Liam Moore says, it is Frank Lampard's Coventry City as well, so it is FLCCFC.
Jesus. Okay, let's get into a few comments as well. Keep them coming in, people. Let's have a quick look at what's being said. Dormston says, evening, fellas. Sorry if you discussed this already, but Verba, Schmidt, or Byram tomorrow night. So I guess, and Sid said something similar. I hope you fullback problems. Bogle, Furpop sometime. It should still have enough. Right, okay, let's get on to the main sort of talking point, I guess, fellas. We had the press conference, and good news in terms of Gruev. being sort of back sooner than we'd have imagined. But big blows. Firpo out with a muscular injury, of which we don't know the return. And then obviously Jayden Bogle as well, a bit of a hammer blow for tomorrow. He's out with a hamstring injury. So we don't know what grade that is. We don't know how long that's going to be for. Initial reaction, Joe?
Yeah, I think we sort of predicted Firpo, and I didn't think he'd make Tuesday, but the real big one is Bogle, isn't it? Especially when you consider. Yeah. I suppose it's a positive that Byram is back training. I think that's a positive. Otherwise, you'd be looking at Vober and Schmidt, and it'd been very harsh on them, I think, and also a bit of a worry to throw them in for like their first starts against such good opposition. So, especially in forward areas, I'm hoping Bogle might make it. I don't know. I know he said he didn't train today, but he wasn't. He said it's more likely that he doesn't. But in that case, it'll be Byram and Vober. And I don't know if you folks agree with this, but here's a take. I would argue I would rather them two play against better opposition than a derby. And the reason I say that is because in the build-up, I think they'd be really a lot poorer than what we see from Bogle and Firpo. Whereas defensively, I have no worries about either of them. And I think we will be defending a lot. Whereas if, we're playing a low block, it could break down with them two all the time, right? We've seen sometimes Byram can struggle and we know Vober's not as good as Firpo. So it might actually not be as bad as we first fear because, they are all right defensively. We can depend on them. So, yeah, that's my take.
I'd agree. I agree with that. I think Jayden Bogle is a better right back than Sam Byram is. I do believe that in terms of overall package. I think, I don't think there's any real question about that. But defensively, especially against a team like this, I probably would give Byram the edge defensively, just purely from a point of view of stopping Borough. Listen, if Jayden Bogle was available, I think we'd all say Jayden Bogle to play the game. But just in terms of stopping Borough, I think it probably does suit Sam Byram better. I think it's interesting in terms of Max Verber at left back because I think you're kind of seeing more in the Premier League. Teams kind of play a centre back at left back to cope with the winger kind of thing because they know the winger will come inside and they kind of know that it will suit a centre back more than it will a full back defending further inside the pitch. So, when Ben Doak, who's very good on both feet, does try and come inside on that left foot, I think it might suit Max Verber a little bit more than Junior Firpo. Of course, in terms of if Borough have counter-attacks, Verber's pace against Ben Doak will be a concern. There's no question about that. But listen, when you come up against really good footballers, and you're not going to come up against Ben Doak every week, it's just unlucky the timing of it more than anything. I think, listen, if it was like, say, Sheffield Wednesday at home, I don't think it would really even be that bothered in terms of about Byram and Verber in terms of the fullbacks in that kind of sense. So if you're looking at it from a positive point of view, I do think defensively it's more stable. That back four, it's maybe less exciting in terms of trying to get at Borough, but I think we can find a way around it. I definitely do believe that. But yeah, in terms of Ben Doak's going to be the key one to stop. And I actually think another thing, a bit of a hot take, I'd be tempted to play Dan James on the left wing to cover Ben Doak a little bit and Dijksteel, because I think Dijksteel's had a really good season going forward. Obviously, he scored that goal against us. And he scored that goal against Burnley. He's a good player going forward. That right-hand side, and listen, no disrespect to Bill Ayling. In fact, Ayling might even play, but it looks like Dijksteel's got the edge at this moment in time in that Borough team. It will be interesting from that point of view. So I'll be tempted to play Dan James there just to kind of discourage Dijksteel from pushing up the pitch as much. And it wouldn't surprise me if, maybe even Ramazani on that left-hand side, just to kind of, because that's where Borough are going to hurt us, I think. I think Azaz, really good player, but I feel like Rothwell and Tanaka have got it in them to stop him like they did Hamer in that Sheffield United game. I just think a direct winger is what's going to cause us the bigger problem. And I think that's where we need to focus our attention to a little bit. And I still think Dan James on the left-hand side can be super effective as well going forward. So I'm tempted to look at it like that, really. Whether Farker does that or not, who knows?
Yeah. Do you think Latte Lath will start?
Yeah, I do.
He started Conway, didn't he? Did Conway play last time?
Yeah, Conway. I think he's got like 5 goals on it, Conway. I think he's doing all right.
Yeah.
They've sometimes played them both together as well. They've sometimes played Conway a bit deeper and Laff up top.
I think how we've got to go about it, lads. I don't know if you agree. I mentioned it earlier. I think this game will end up a draw. I think it'll end up a draw because I think we're going to show Borough probably quite a bit of respect. I think last time out, I think Carrick got Farke's respect. He probably had it anyway, but I think maybe he's looking at it, Farke, and thinking, look, you have possession of the ball, and come and try break us down a little bit. I know they're possession-wise, they almost took the ball off us in the first game, didn't they? And I'm probably expecting Leeds to be maybe a little bit more conservative and a little bit more worried. Not worried as such, but steady against what Borough might do to us. And I think the EFL game the League Cup game previously, maybe put the fear of God into Farke a little bit. And I don't think we'll go for them like we did Sheffield United, I should say, or Luton, for example. I don't think that's going to happen. I think they're probably going to have a lot of the ball. I was looking interestingly at some of the stats, and they've actually had the most touch in the opposition area in the division. They've had the most shots on goal. They're up there with us and XG. So I think he's going to really show them a bit of respect tomorrow. But I think if he doesn't show them respect, and I think if we attack from the first whistle and almost utilise attack as the best form of defence, I don't think they can play out that well from the back with our attacking presence. I think we'll recover the ball pretty high, and I think we could be destructive, to be honest. But I think Farke might respect them enough to be a little bit more conservative tomorrow, and that's why I think Leeds might pick up a point. Maybe. I don't know if you guys disagree with that.
I have a feeling it'll be similar to the games last season. I really do, where I think it'll be high scoring. I think obviously it's not in our nature, at home to allow that to happen. But I think Borough, for me, are the best team in the league to watch, just from a purely aesthetically. I think we're the best footballing side, so I think it's interesting from that point of view. I just think this clash of styles, we'll see it open up a little bit. I think Tanaka versus Hackney in the middle will be a very, very important midfield battle, because Tanaka this season, he hasn't really had anyone anywhere close to his technical level. And I think Hackney, I still think Tanaka's the better player of the two. I do believe that. But I think in terms of having someone at a similar level to him, it'll be interesting to see how Tanaka responds to that. Because I think, it'll be interesting. Obviously, Chris Rigg and Tanaka had a really good battle, up at, the Stadium of Light as well earlier in the season. Bellingham as well, obviously involved in that as well. So it wouldn't surprise me if the game really does open up in sort of in periods of the game. And we know both teams how good they can be going forward. I think this Leeds team, yes, at times we have been a little bit slow in the attack, but I think the way Borough play, there'll be a high line, there'll be space in behind to hit. With Dan James, with possibly Ramazani, Nonto as well. There is going to be space for us to play into. So I think there will be moments for us in this game. I think actually it'll be an exciting one from our point of view in that sense. So it really wouldn't surprise me if the game massively opens up. I just don't see it being a 0-0 tight or a 1-0 or a Sheffield United tight.
I don't know what it is. I mentioned it to Joe earlier on, but I've got him down as I thought it was going to be... I don't know. It's such a tough one to call this. I've just got a feeling that it's going to be a bit of a high scorer, but I just see it as a draw. I've got it as a 2-2. Joe, what are your thoughts, mate?
I don't think he'll show them too much respect at home. I don't. I think away from home, there's probably a case for it. I think he'll want to right the wrongs. I think the players will want to right the wrongs after getting dumped out of the cup. I think he will go for them, mate. I think it will be end-to-end. I just back us to better them defensively. They're all over the shop. I obviously I did my preview earlier, so I did do a little bit of research. You'll be surprised to know. But in the last, they're unbeaten in 4 away from home. By the way, they haven't lost in 4. But during that time, they scored 14 but conceded 7. In terms of giving up chances, they will do that. I think they've got a few issues at the back. In terms
Dieng's not had a good season either in goal. Dieng's not had a good goal. Not had a good season in goal either.
And I think if Leeds start on the front foot, Connor, I think with it being a Tuesday night game under the lights, it'll be a great atmosphere. It'll be a packed house because I think atmospheres, and I don't like to comment on it because I don't go, but Like, I don't think the atmospheres have really stood up this season from what I see off people that go, but also when you can feel it. I do think, though, we were great against Sheffield United on a Friday night under the lights, and I think it'll be the same tomorrow because there's actually jeopardy going into this fixture. I think there's a little bit of nervousness amongst the fan base. Ooh, this is a big one. So I think the atmosphere will help spur them on, especially in the early exchanges. And like you said, if we score first, our backers, I could see a draw. I could see 3-2 either way, though. It's really hard to call. He says after predicting 2-1, but you know it could go a bit mad. But I do think Leeds United can win this game. Yeah, we've got more than enough, man. We have to beat. We have to, man. If we want to get top two, these are the sort of fixtures where it's like, right, okay, let's beat these and then really kick on, because the fixtures after this are very kind to Leeds, very kind. So
would you take a point? Would you take a point if you knew we'd beat Preston?
Yeah. I said if Middlesbrough was at the end of the month, and then we'd played all these rubbish teams. Well, I say rubbish, but these teams were due to play. We'd come through them.
So arrogant, Joe. You.
I know I am. I get called it all the time from other fans. Leeds arrogant again. No, but no, I would, mate, if I knew we went away to Preston and won. Yeah, because I would, because I think Sheffield United will get beat tomorrow on Wednesday against Millwall as well.
Okay.
Yeah,
it's interesting because I think another thing as well is Borough not quite nothing to lose, but there's not a lot of pressure on Borough because they're definitely going to finish in the top six unless they have an absolute injury crisis or Liverpool work out some kind of contractual way of getting Ben Doak back, which I don't think they can. But yeah, something crazy happening. I can't see how Borough don't finish in the top six. I just think they're so much better than sort of 7th to 10th in the league. I just don't see it happening. But for them, they really need to go to Welland Road and win from their point of view to really close up that gap to the top two. You know, obviously they can still finish top two even if they got beat tomorrow, but I think they're gonna have a bit of a no fear approach towards tomorrow, Borough, which is a worry in one sense, but I think in another sense is we will get moments against them, and if you give moments to people like Joel Perreault, he's going to score. He's going to score in those situations. So I'd be surprised if both teams don't score tomorrow. I really would. And yeah, it'll be interesting. But yeah, if we can come out this week with 4 to 6 points,
46,
4 to 6, I think that'd be a decent week for us. I think we do need to either beat Borough or Preston, just psychologically, just to get a win against a good team or a win away from home in a sort of an awkward game against a low block. I think we do need to get past that psychological barrier. And
it's a thing again, isn't it? Where, you know, if you look at just Burnley here, Derby, you're expecting a win there, but like as Joe said, when you're looking at Sheffield here at Millwall, if Leeds can beat Borough, you know, it's one of those as well where we've got the hardest fixture, and if we go and beat Borough, it's a bit of a statement, isn't it? It feels like a bit of a statement, and you know,
6 points this week would be a massive statement. I'd say that much. I think that would be a complete change of momentum in the top two race.
Oscar, if Leeds win as well and Sheffield United win, it's a massive kick in the gut to Borough's top two hopes. I think that's massive. That's huge. I don't know if I could see him grappling back that, to be honest. It's too much.
It'd be tough for him at that point. There's no question about that. But it's one of those we've seen in the Championship. Things can change. I mean, how far back were we down to this time last year, kind of thing?
That would take,
we're a far back team.
That would take Leeds to 10 points ahead of Borough, and that would mean that I think Sheffield would then 11 points ahead if they win as well. So
it's a lot. It is a lot, to be fair. And at that point, you could start saying it's a top three, and one of the teams in that top three is struggling to create chances. I still think if Burnley have a couple of games where they don't win, I think that crowd will turn a little bit, you know. I really do. I think it's not turning.
They've already turned, Oscar.
A lot of them don't want him. But as you say, Joe, it's not going to take a lot for that Burnley crowd to think, hang on a minute. You know, it's all well and good playing this style of football if we're winning, but when you're not winning, no. Especially when they had Vincent Kompany the last 2 years before, playing a totally different, totally other end of the scale. I really do think Burnley.
Is this the big?
Yeah, I'm comfortable with where Burnley are at the minute. To be fair,
as well, Oscar. Is this the big period for Sheffield United? You know, you obviously look at Cardiff here, you'd expect them to probably come through that. Sheffield United, Plymouth there. Joe thinks they might struggle against Millwall.
I mean, look at that from Boxing Day to New Year's Day.
This is what I mean.
The fourth, actually. Watford away as well.
Well, this is what I mean. This is what I'm referring to. I think those three games.
Wow.
You got 1, 2, 3, 4. And then obviously you got Norwich, who are just scoring goals for fun at the minute.
This is where we have a gap, Connor, man. We've got to create the gap over Christmas now.
Yeah, that's a big period. They're dropping points. If they don't drop points through there and significant points, then you've kind of got to look at them. I mean, West Brom, I guess, away from home. But Burnley, as Joe was saying earlier, someone's got to drop points there. Someone's got to drop points here. Watford's going to be hard for every team, I think, going down there this season, isn't it?
Yeah.
It will. And I mean, we say we sniff at West Brom, but they'll fucking draw 1-1. Mark it now. Do you know what I mean? So
early kickoff.
Corberan, draw specialist, clean sheet, 0-0. Stodges, I don't know what. He'll get the job done there. But I think, I'm saying with Joe, we've got to look at that period to the 4th of Jan and build a gap. I'd be worried a little bit if we didn't have a gap.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm the same as you.
I would be worried about us psychologically going into that sort of March and April if we don't build a gap in Jan when it's a little bit easier for us.
If you look at them right now, and someone who's good at maths, but if you did the average positions of them teams now, there's only Blackburn and Middlesbrough in top half. So the average position's probably bottom half in them next, 7
easily.
fixtures.
I mean,
do you know what I mean? So
Hull are bottom, aren't they?
Yeah, Hull are in the relegation zone.
Which is mad. Which is mad, by the way.
I do think Hull, by the time it gets to the 4th of Jan, on the Sellers, I don't think they'll be a brilliant team, but I think that will be a little bit more awkward, that one, by the 4th of Jan.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a big pickup. He's doing well, isn't he? He's doing well.
On paper, I'd even fancy us to beat Blackburn at home. I know we're just being beat at their place, but we'll beat them at home. I can't...
There's no Joe. We've got. I think this is why maybe fans are a little bit. Look. I'll throw myself into the mix here. Oscar might be a little bit sort of in the middle. I think he is, but I think at the start of the season, Joe, I looked at Stoke, looked at Preston, and I thought easy, and in an arrogant Leeds United way, no problems whatsoever. I think the heebie-jeebies have been put up me a little bit. I'll be honest with our recent away form, and I'm hoping these are going to be the big testers for me because I know they're not massive games. I know they're not, the most horrific games, but they're these sort of arduous Blackburn, Millwall, Bristol City-esque games, aren't they? And Leeds have to come through these games. We can't be dropping significant points away from home still. I mean, someone said, Joe, on your stream, I think it was Vic Vinegar, to be fair to him, I think he's in the chat here as well. As long as, points at home per game, 244. Away from home, 144. But we've said multiple times, Joe, you cannot rely on that throughout the whole season, can you? It's too dependent on us being flawless at home.
No, you bang on the money, mate. And we can't. We do have to look. Like I think you made the point. Imagine if we were playing well away from home. We'd already be miles away. This is the point, isn't it? So to think, right, that we didn't win for 2 months away from home and we're still second. Tells you all you need to know. So as long as Leeds can rectify this, and it'll probably take 1 or 2 results, it'll probably take Preston and Stoke, because I think we've got them back to back, haven't we? Have we? 14th? No, sorry, we've got Oxford in between. But we almost need a 2-game week away from home and get them won so that we can, get rid of that. But yeah,
what we know here is Joe. This is probably back end of Jan. We know as Leeds fans here, maybe, and obviously Burnley as well. Yeah. But I think Cardiff will be okay. But you look at these ones.
Burnley are worse at home. And a lot of that's due to the way they play.
Yeah, I look at this group here, Joe, I was having a look earlier, and Oscar, these 8 are the ones for me. These like arduous away games at Portsmouth and West Brom at home and Sunderland. These are the big ones, aren't they? I feel like this period.
And but if we've come through Christmas and we have a gap, then this is where it can help, can't it?
Exactly. I mean?
Yeah. Coventry will be tough for us away from home with Lampard. I'm telling you, it will. I'm not too. Listen, I'd fancy us at Burnley. I don't think they're that great. Sheffield United will be tough. Sunderland will be tough. West Brom again, like you said, Portsmouth. They're the ones, aren't they? Watford away. So yeah, there are some very difficult fixtures in January through to Feb. But that's why we need the gap, and there's a real opportunity for Leeds United. I mean, we did a prediction on my channel and the chat got involved and It wasn't just me. And we had us 5 points ahead by January the 1st, which I know might seem wild now, but with Sheffield United having to play Burnley, having to play West Brom again, having to play, Millwall, I don't think it's that much out of the realms of possibility, folks. We're only 1 point behind now. If we win tomorrow and they get beat, we're 2 in front. I don't think it's that wild to think after Christmas, as long as it goes how we think it should, we'd have a nice little gap.
It's exactly that. I think the other thing as well is about the gap is that I think Sheffield United are one of them teams where I don't see them going on a crazy good run. I don't see them going like 8 wins in 10. I think there'll be a steady pace all season. I don't think they'll go on a great run. I don't think they'll go on a really, really bad run. I just think the way they are under Chris Wilder, they'll be competitive every game. Most games, though, the quality difference will tell. The odd game, it won't. So I think there will be consistently kind of 2 points per game throughout the season. I just think it will be that way. But I think Burnley, if they had a gap to us and Sheffield United, or even just one of us, they would have to then start playing more on the front foot, because they'll have to be going into games thinking, you know what, we're going to have to win today. I think their mentality is a little bit, we'll nick the game kind of thing, in terms of on the set piece or through a moment of quality. I think they'll have to start playing on the front foot. Otherwise, it'll start to tell a little bit of Burnley. You will see that gap build and build and build. And I don't think that suits this Burnley team under Parker. I think the second they open up, they're nowhere near as good. I mean, you've already said it, Joe. They're not as good at home as they are away, which is quite telling to me. They will have to open up probably more against us at home. I think the crowd will demand it.
And Oscar, you just look at this as well. XG been a massive, normally navigator of how many teams are going to score goals across the season there. Leeds second in the division. You go all the way down, and to be fair to them, I mean, look at this. I mean, that 24 goals are outperforming their XG.
Who are they? Arsenal?
I know, but even Sheffield United, obviously in 11th there, and it just shows if Leeds are actually able to convert some of these chances. I mean, even if I think we just go to big chances missed as well. There you go, top of the tree. It is one of those where, and then you look at just all the way down, big chances missed. Look at this, lads, 18th and 19th. So they're converting. So it feels like if Leeds are actually able to stick some of these chances away, you're going to be on not easy street as such, but you're going to be in a much better position from even where we are now, really.
I mean, imagine something else too. Imagine if Sheffield United lost Hamer in January, or Burnley lost Koleosho in January. Imagine that. To me, that would totally change the momentum again. I think that would probably really put both teams in trouble.
Do you know what the big thing as well? It can change, because again, when I did the Borough preview, after 10 games, right, they were ranked 21st for goals, 18th for big chances scored, and last for shot conversion rate after 10 games.
Yeah.
You now look at them, game 20, whatever on, the top of the charts for it all. So it just shows you, once you do get that groove, it can really kick in. And we know that from last season. Look at January onwards when we went on that mad run.
Do we need to be more clinical, Joe, when you look at
100%, mate, yeah.
Look at these big chances, mate. 55,
exactly.
33 in.
Yeah, it's not great for Leeds. And a lot of the losses I do put down to players missing gilt-edged chances. There's been a few in a lot of games where, Nonto, Joseph, Pirro, Aronson, there's been a lot that are culpable for missing gilt-edged chances. And I just feel a lot of the time the opposition don't. And
saw this one earlier as well, Joe, which will make you laugh, and Oscar as well. Corners, 134.
It's mad, isn't it? Mad.
Yeah. So, yeah, going to be a tricky one tomorrow, certainly, lads. But I think we're all relatively calm about it. I'm not. Yeah. It's not a game what I'm looking at and going, oh no, losing my mind.
It's not going to break our season if we lose tomorrow. I really don't want to lose tomorrow, but it's not going to be the end of the world if we lost that game tomorrow.
No,
I'm not going to be panicking too much.
No, it's not.
You don't want to lose it like we did in August, though. That's where I would be panicking. If Borough came to Ellen Road like Farkas Norwich did in 2019 and just play us off the park, that would be a worry to me. But
I do think you've got to preface that with, though, if we do lose to Borough, and then we don't pick up all 3 points at Preston, we know what's coming in terms of just general reaction here, because it's just
mate, if we lose tomorrow, people will want him sacked, man. You know the script.
Yeah.
We could win tomorrow, and that'd be the case. But it is, I think it's just we need to just put together at some point in this season 8 wins in 10, just to even for the atmosphere a little bit, just so everyone is on the same page a little bit. I think when you look at that January to March period, probably our best time under Daniel Farke, and obviously we won games in that period. But even when you look at, like, say, Chelsea away, when we went to Chelsea, they had Caicedo playing, Enzo Fernandez, etc., and Archie Gray and Ampadu were just absolutely dominating that midfield. And it's that where I think everyone was buying into it at that point. And I just feel at this moment in time, obviously there is a split on Daniel Farke. There's no getting away from that. But I think John's on the money here as well, lads. Yeah, of course. Yeah, but I just have a feeling tomorrow will be a 3-2 either way or a 2-2, and I don't see either team running away with it. I think both teams are that good in terms of compared to the rest of the league, footballing wise. I just think it'll be a really good game of football, and one team might be a little bit more clinical than the other. I just think that's the nature of the beast, really.
Yeah, definitely. Chris has said, at least we've started scoring from corners. Have we had a penalty this season? Yeah, we have. Strout scored one, didn't he? Yeah, Strout.
I missed one.
He missed one. And he missed one. Yeah, he missed one.
121 likes. Hit that like button. Yeah, make sure you do so, everybody. We've got over 640 people on all platforms watching. Make sure you check out Joe's channel as well, and Oscar Mario on Twitter. One positive, I've read that one out. We've got rid of some horrid away performances as well. Aiden says, Aiden says, if we had an efficient striker, we'd walk this league.
Perot's not inefficient. I mean, Perot, for all his faults, he's not inefficient though.
I think it's harsh to say he's inefficient.
Yeah, definitely. What we're looking at then tomorrow? We spoke this morning about it almost being a Ramazani Nonto double effect for this one. Obviously, it's going to be affected at the back a little bit more. Oscar was mentioned earlier, starting Dan James for the defensive aspect, but we know Ramazani's a very, very good defensive winger as well. I think Nonto can be overlooked as well sometimes for his graft, especially back this season. He's definitely developed on that from since last season. How would you like Leeds to start starting 11 tomorrow? Joe, I'll come to you first, mate.
I want Nonto and James on either flank, just for what you've just mentioned. I'm not too sure on Ramazani. I think not as a player. Hear me out. I don't think he can tackle. To be honest, he's a bit of a walking yellow card at the minute, so that needs to maybe change. I think because of issues at fullback as well, with Bogle potentially being out. If you're playing Byron there, I'd like to see James on the right and Nonto.
It's a bit of security, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I'd like to see. Obviously, the same midfield. Pirro starts up top. I don't think there's a conversation there for me anymore. And yeah, Vobra and Byram on either flank. I mean, that's just because we go 4-2-3-1. There's a case, play 3 centre backs, play Isaac Schmidt left wing back, play Byram right wing back, and go that way. But we know we won't. Do you know what I mean? So, I think the only contentious area will be the wingers, and I would like him to go for Nonto and James in this one. That's my preference.
Helen with a mad stat. Gruev still the last person to score from midfield. Very true. Oscar?
Yeah, obviously, you don't want to make too many changes because obviously with Byram and Verber, it's kind of like in force. So you want to have a bit of momentum going into the game in that kind of sense. But so I would go Byram, Rodon, Strauch, Verber as your back four. Obviously, Tanaka and Rothwell as a given in midfield. I don't think Ampadu is ready to start until at least sort of Preston, probably more likely Oxford, or we're going into that Christmas period. So that midfield stays the same. I'd go something different in the front four, though. I'd go super technical in the middle of the pitch. It'll never happen this, by the way. I'd personally play Nonto through the middle. I'd try something a little bit different in terms of against Hackney. I don't think Hackney's great defensively. I'd like the fact of having someone like a Nonto running at him. From that point of view, and I go James and Ramazani on the wings, just for that pace, just to catch that Borough high line. I really do think that if you get in behind Borough, you were going to get chances, and Perot up top, because if you can get James and Ramazani in behind, you're going to get service into Perot as well at the same time. So I really would be surprised if Aronson drops out. And listen, that's not a criticism of Aronson. I just think for me, in that middle of the pitch in this game, I'd probably go with someone super technical just to kind of open things up a little bit. Yeah, that's what I go with. That's what I think I go with. And I go with something different against Preston. Now, I think we do need to rotate more. That's probably my biggest criticism of Daniel Farke is when we have tried to rotate, it's maybe not worked brilliantly sometimes. It's got better in recent weeks, but I think when we have needs to rotate from time to time, and I think it'll be interesting when Ampadu and Gruev are back, is how we do play things with that midfield. Do we rotate it or do we just go with Tanaka and Ampadu and just stick with that? It'll be interesting to see how we play that. But I do think one or two players in this sort of really busy Christmas period might need a rest from time to time. Not this game, but more looking at sort of Preston onwards. There might be a case of that.
Which positions, mate? Which positions?
I think midfield's one where you see Rothwell and Tanaka play so many minutes the last couple of weeks, and it's not against their performances at all. I think Aronson's maybe another one we look at and think he's played a lot of football in the 10. I think Perot and Joseph, I think we can kind of swap them two around a lot more as well.
Do you think Joseph's giving you what you want, though?
I mean, I'm a Joseph fan.
No, I know, and so am I, but
I think away from home, I personally think it suits Joseph better. I really do. I think we should try at Preston Joseph in that game. Not against Borough, but I think against Preston, I wouldn't mind you playing Joseph in that game. It's going to be more physical. I just think
I don't think you can. For me, Joe, I don't think you can start Perot constantly throughout the remainder of the season. I don't think you can.
I think that's fair, but I think
a lot of games coming up as well.
Rotation
100%.
was our biggest issue last season, I felt.
Yeah, I think he's doing a good job of it right now, I think, personally. I think a lot of people are getting a lot of minutes, and that wasn't the case last season. I think, Anthony maybe played 5. I think, we looked to the weekend, they brought off Aronson on the 60-odd minute, I think, 68, something like that. I think we are seeing quite a lot of rotation, especially in the wings, of course. I think if he had Ampadu available, maybe you're right, though. Maybe Gulavogi could have started 1 or 2 games as well, to be honest, instead of them getting beasted. But I do think we are seeing a lot more rotation.
He definitely should start in the cup, Harrogate.
Who, Bamford?
Gulavogi, yeah. I'm Bamford.
Gulavogi, sorry.
Why not?
Yeah, no, exactly. So, I don't know. I think, someone messaged me earlier and said, everyone has a go at Farke for his subs, but we've scored so many goals off the bench, like insane numbers.
It is true.
But yeah, no, look, I think if we can get a 10 in January, I'm up for changing Aronson. Will he play Rothwell there or Tanaka there maybe when Ampadu's back? Could see that as well. I'm not up for just sticking wingers in there. I don't know. I think they're just, I don't know anyway, but we'll back the man in charge.
Yeah, I mean, of course. Listen, he's achieved 2 promotions at Norwich, not really rotating. But I think this season, because I think it's
we are seeing it, though, Oscar. Do you not think we're seeing rotation or not enough? Is that your point?
We are, but I'm not sure it's working every single time. I think Blackburn away, what we tried to do there didn't really work in terms of rotating the wings on that. And listen, there's a bit of confirmation bias in the games we lose. It doesn't work, and the games we win, it does work. I get all that. And I think we are trying to rotate a bit more this season, but you're still seeing people like Isaac Schmidt not really getting minutes. Guy Lavogie, I think we could probably use a little bit more than we are doing. I think, actually, if you look at games like Preston away and Stoke away, that might suit Guy Lavogie a little bit, that physicality in the middle of the pitch. And just, we almost play a free. You can play Guy Lavogie deeper, Rothwell and Tanaka pushed up a little bit.
And he's also different. And he's also, by the way, rotation when it comes to a centre-back as well. A lot of people are talking about Berber and Ampadu coming back, but Guy Lavogie has played, minutes at centre-back as well previously.
Yeah.
But I do think Joseph, I think if we're going to get performances out of Joseph this season, I think he needs more minutes. I do believe that. Or he needs more starts, maybe. Because I think, listen, last season, Wilfred Gnonto last season, in the early part of the first half of the season, he wasn't good. Let's be honest. No. Wilfred Gnonto, it wasn't working for him in that first. Until January sort of came, Dan James got that injury. It wasn't happening for Gnonto. He was playing the odd minute here, sort of 20 minutes here, there, maybe the odd start, maybe 10 minutes there. That's kind of the same with Massio Joseph. And listen, I'm not saying Massio Joseph is on the same level of Gnonto, but when you got a player as good as Gnonto dropping off in terms of form because he can't get any momentum in terms of playing week in, week out. It shows it can happen to anyone. I do believe that to an extent. And Matteo Joseph might not be the answer for the team, but I don't think we're going to find it out either way, doing what we're doing at the minute, where he's just coming on for 10 minutes or 15 minutes. And in fact, Bamford came on.
What would you suggest? What would you suggest then? Coming on for 20 minutes?
I think start against Preston. I think start him in one of these away games and just see what happens. I just think it'll be.
But what if it don't work?
If it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
Yeah, but then we might watch the game. Do you know what I mean? I'm trying to I get it. I hear you, but it's like, oh well, we just need to give him a run of games because then he might start scoring. Okay, fair enough.
I think, but there's nothing wrong with trying different things away from home. You've said it yourself, mate. If our away form was anything like our home form, we'd be on for a Reading points record. We would. We'd be 20 points clear at the end of the season if we can get it anywhere close to what it is now. And I don't think there's anything wrong with trying something different away from home from time to time. I'm not just saying it has to be Perot at home all the time. It has to be Joseph away all the time. I just think rotating between the two, because Perot off the bench this season, it's worth noting in these away games and early on in the season, you look at, say, Cardiff away, Hull at home, Perot came off the bench and scored. Joseph, was good for the first 70 minutes and Perot came on and finished the game off. I don't think there's anything wrong with going back to that to try and solve this away form. I don't think there's anything wrong with trying Joseph and Perot up top together and playing Perot just behind Joseph. I don't think there's anything wrong with trying that.
I've seen that though. It was terrible last season, Perot in the 10. Yeah,
but not with a natural number 9 in front of him.
Well, didn't he have Bamford in front of it? Oh, no, it was Rutter, weren't it?
In terms of, it's a different team as well. And listen, I'm not saying there's any silver bullet here that's going to suddenly make us brilliant away from home. I think a lot of it's going to have to just come from confidence and building momentum ourselves. I don't think there's any player who's going to. I don't think it's a case of we put Matteo Joseph in and suddenly we're going to beat Preston 6-0 away from home. I don't think it's that.
No.
But I think the performance will be better if you had Matteo Joseph in those games. And Perot in the home games. I do think to an extent that could be the case. And
I think it matches up. I think when you look at the workhorse and then when you look at the finisher, I think it does work a little bit more when you're looking at Joseph away from home. I think that is a little bit more applicable. And if you want to start him, we've seen it, haven't we? Cardiff away. Joseph started, Perot came on, 10-15 minutes left and was ruthless. So if it's not working, bring him on and we'll see what happens.
Absolutely. And if Joseph and Perot, as you said, Joe, quite rightly, what if it doesn't work? What if Joseph has a terrible game against Preston? If he did start, if that happens and Perot can't perform in the away games, maybe it comes into a situation where you say, do you look at the striking department? Do you look at maybe Patrick Bamford? Whether Patrick Bamford does want to play more regular football in January. Is that an option then where you kind of swap things around a little bit, where you still have 3 strikers, but you kind of swap and change it a little bit and you maybe go for someone in January? Is that the case? If it's constantly not happening for any of our strikers away from home, then we have got to change something.
Well, lads, we're coming up onto an hour, so I just want to round it off on an hour because I don't want us to get too much into it. The season going on. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining. Oscar, thank you, mate. It was an absolute pleasure. Joe, get yourself to bed, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure, everybody. And just get your score predictions in before we go. Joe,
2-1. 2-1 Leeds.
2-1 Leeds. Oscar.
2-1.
3-2 Leeds, same as last season.
Ooh, yeah, go on. I'll go with a 3-2 as well. Screw it. Who cares? All right, guys. Thank you so much. Make sure you're checking Joe's channel out. As always, you know where to go. The Just Joe Football Show. Oscar Mario on Twitter. You know what to do. It's been an absolute pleasure, everybody. See you in a bit.